Today we're talking about growing up as a coach's kid. I personally am grateful that I did have a few years growing up as a coach's kid when my sister and I were playing softball when we were younger. I know how much time and energy my dad put into coaching us, and I'm very grateful for that, for the skills and the love of the game that he was able to give to us. So today we're talking to Jeb Matulich about his experiences growing up as a coach's son, as his dad coached him playing football growing up. So enjoy this episode of Hustle and Pro. Welcome, Jeb Matulich, and we're going to learn a little bit about you with some quick hits. You ready, Jeb?
I'm ready.
Who's your favorite all-time athlete?
Earl Campbell.
Who's your favorite all-time team?
The Chicago Cubs.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
College football.
What is your favorite sport to play?
Ooh, it's a tough one. I think basketball.
What's the farthest distance you've ever traveled to either play a sport or watch a sport?
However long it is from San Antonio to San Diego.
Can you fill me in just on your background growing up in and around sports?
Yeah, well, my dad was a coach, and so we were a very athletic family. Starting out, I think the first sport that we used to play would be like the Nerf hoop, like in the house, and then wiffle ball and stuff like that. Football, Nerf football in the front yard. First organized sport that I played was soccer in the third grade, and I played soccer third grade, fourth grade, took a break, and I think I did sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. So those are my kind of like youth sports, I guess you could say. And then in middle school, I played football, basketball, and I ran track. So, very active in all of those sports moving on through school for sure.
Do you have siblings that were playing sports too?
I have a brother that's 3 years younger than I am. So we used to battle it out pretty good in everything that we did. Growing up, my biggest memories of growing up were like wiffle ball in the front yard or Nerf football. I mean, we would just have epic games, either at school in the playground or just in our front yard, and that kind of stuff. And then when I got to high school, well, I guess my dad, being a coach, he never let us play football until they had it at the school. So we were in Lufkin at the time, and they didn't have football until eighth grade. So I wasn't able to play football until eighth grade when they actually had it at the school. He was real adamant.
Yeah. So they had little younger leagues, but it was dad coaches, and he didn't. Is that the reason he wanted you coached by a coach that knew more?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't get to play till eighth grade, which is probably good because I was a beanpole. I was so skinny. But skill-wise, I've been playing my whole life and been hanging out at my dad's practices and stuff growing up. And so, I was ready for sure in eighth grade. And then, so I got to play in eighth grade. And then, I don't know how much detail you want me to go into.
How long did you play?
I played through high school. Okay. Yeah. And so when I got to high school, we moved from Lufkin, which at the time, the group I was with as eighth graders, when we became seniors, they were the preseason number one team in 5A in Lufkin. But we had moved, and so my dad had taken a new job, and so we were down at Smithson Valley in South Texas. But those are the guys I kind of grew up playing football with, one of the best group in the state. And then I played high school football, basketball, and then I also ran track. I was a hurdler.
Oh, all through high school?
Mm-hmm.
Busy.
Yeah.
So what was your dad coaching? What level was he coaching?
He was a high school football
coach. So basically, he was coaching when you said you were little, right?
Mm-hmm.
As long as you remember.
Right.
Being a coach's son, what did that do to change how you love sports, how you look at sports, how you played sports? How did that change your perspective on sports?
Oh, I think it was a world of difference. I saw the work that he put in, and I saw the love that he gave to the kids, and just how much he got out of that. And so, there's a lot of sacrifice with being a coach. You're away from your family a lot, And so my mom used to pick us up from school and just take us to the high school and just drop us off at the practice field. It'd be like 3:30, and they'd still be practicing till 5:30 or whatever. But my brother and I would be out on the field, throwing the ball, on the sidelines, running around, going into the weight room, playing around on the mats. I mean, we were, shooting baskets. We were just like gym rats. We were always just hanging around the school. So just, I guess, seeing that side of it and just, the work that it takes to be good, and how they were pushing athletes. And so you saw what it took from older kids, and so that when you got your chance, you realize, hey, this is what it takes to be good. You can't be a slacker. You can't be, you got to put in the work and all that. So I think that really set a precedence for my brother and I. We were really, and of course, then when you play for your dad, that's a whole nother thing.
Like, you did play for your dad?
Yes, he was my head coach in high school.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So he was the head coach, and I was the quarterback. So we had that dynamic going. But I mean, you just want to make, because after a tough loss, just how he feels coming back home and stuff. And so you always wanted to do your best, and really, I had a lot of pride in trying to not really show out for my dad or my family, but I wanted to make sure I was doing my part.
Represent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I didn't realize you played for him.
Mm-hmm.
I played for my dad, like Little League, but there is something about it that you get a different angle of seeing that sport behind the scenes a little bit, some of the extra work that goes in that other kids and parents of other kids don't ever see. They don't realize how much time is spent at home thinking about who's going to be on the field and when, and just different things that the coach has to put into it.
Right. And my dad was really good about not bringing it home. If I had a really bad game, I mean, he was really good about not just harping on it.
Do you think being around, especially as he was coaching, do you think that made you want to go into teaching?
That was really the reason that I did. I actually coached for 10 years myself at the middle school level. I started out as an architecture major at Texas Tech. And I did that 2.5 years, and I was just getting this feeling like there's something missing, and I really was having this pull towards athletics. And so I said, I think I really want to switch. I want to get into coaching like my dad. So I got into education and got my degree in kinesiology with a minor in geography. And then, so that's what got me into education and coaching. Otherwise, I'd probably be an architect at the moment.
Drawing buildings instead of drawing
probably so.
Designs for shirts.
Right.
Speaking of, you have a unique passion for Texas. You are one of the co-owners of Tumbleweed Textiles, which is here in Frisco, a local T-shirt and other textiles company, and a lot of it is based on the passion for Texas history and just the culture of Texas. Does that passion bleed over into the sports that you root for and how you watch sports?
Oh, I would think so for sure. I mean, I've told people I went to 6 different elementary schools growing up. So my dad was always moving around, and so it kind of depended on where we were, what team I was gravitating towards at the time. Now we lived in East Texas a couple times, so I was always a huge Houston Oilers fan. My brother was a Cowboy fan, and I don't know if it was just because I wanted someone to kind of have a rival with, because we were always, but the Oilers and Earl Campbell, that was I just loved the Oilers growing up. I mean, that was my team as far as I can ever remember, when I was probably first or second grade. I actually won an art contest in second grade drawing a picture of the Houston Earl Campbell in the Super Bowl, a made-up picture, but won an art contest with that. So so I always used to like the Oilers. When I lived in East Texas, I liked the Rockets. But we grew up in San Antonio, so I always liked the Spurs as well, as far as my basketball team goes. My dad played at Texas Tech. He was a quarterback there in the 60s. So growing up, that was my college team. I was always a Red Raider from the get-go. So there was no question about that. We were always Red Raiders. Dad used to take us to games when he'd get a chance. I think his old coach was actually the athletic director at the time, in the mid-'80s. So we'd go up there and sit in the box with him. And it was always fun to go watch the Red Raiders play. And so that was always fun, because we get behind-scene access and things. I guess my other teams that kind of is a little bit strange. It's going to be the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, where'd the Cubs come into this?
My dad was a huge Cubs fan. He still is. And his granddad was a big Cubs fan. He grew up in Mississippi. And so I guess apparently the Cubs were one of the only teams that they could get on the radio. Wow. And so my grandfather loved the Cubs. And so then my dad just grew up loving the Cubs. And then there's a picture of me in 1972, after I was born in my onesie. They had sewn on a Cubs patch on my onesie. So I was already like
Yeah.
destined. And it was, it's been a long, hard road being a Cubs fan.
Yeah, but you got
But until a few years ago,
you
I got
got a pop.
I got it. So that was really well worth it.
I
awesome.
was happy. If it's not my Rangers, it was nice to see the Cubs have a chance.
Right.
It was good. Okay, Texas Tech. You mentioned Tech. I'm also a Red Raider. I did not know your dad played there and was a quarterback there.
He did.
So did you and your brother both go there?
We did.
Yeah.
We were there at the same time. Of course, he's a couple years younger than I am.
Sure.
But I took an extended plan, so we actually had some good crossover
Okay,
years.
I don't know if we've done this before, played the when were you there bit. When were you there?
I graduated high school in 1990,
Okay.
and so I started in 90, and then I ended up graduating in 96.
Okay, we
So-
missed each other by a year.
Yeah.
I got there in 97.
Okay.
Yeah, in Lubbock. And I loved it. That's where I met my husband. We were both playing, he played soccer, but I was playing intramural soccer, and his roommate was on my team, and the rest is history.
Right.
So tell me about Texas Tech. Obviously, you have a lot of memories from being not only a fan, but because your dad was there too. So what are some of your most memorable Tech moments and even coaches? Curious who
Well,
some of your favorite Tech coaches are.
Well, I was there during the Spike Dykes era.
Uh-huh.
It was before Mike Leach, and we were still in the Southwest Conference. So, early on, I guess the biggest moment when I was there was, of course, the women won the national championship in basketball, and that was a really big deal. I think that was my junior year or something, so that was a pretty cool deal. But the one moment that really stands out football-wise would be in 95, my last year there. Zach Thomas, he picked off a pass late in the game against A&M. I think it was tied 7-7, and he picked off a pass and then returned it for a touchdown, and we ended up winning 14-7. And
where was that? In Lubbock?
It was in Lubbock.
Okay.
Yeah, we were there, and my present-day wife was there, and all of our friends, and I think A&M was like number 7 or 8 in the country at the time, and so it was a huge deal. I just remember Lubbock was just going bananas, and it was just so much fun. That was really one of my favorite memories when I was there, sports-wise.
One of my favorites is an A&M memory too. At Kyle Field, though.
Right.
We got lucky and got on the front row of a triple overtime game. It was fantastic.
Well, I think that was the one from 2003 with like Wes Welker.
Sounds right. Yep.
Yeah. And
yeah.
that was, if you were going to talk about really good memories, that was, and that game wasn't even televised. We were actually at the Frisco community parade that day. I was a coach at Clark, and so we were on a float, and all the coaches, we all had like our radio headsets on, listening to the game the whole time, because I had worked with a bunch of Aggies, and it was crazy just listening to that game.
It's always fun, those big games.
Yeah,
and other memories are UT games and those big, it was a Crabtree.
Right.
It was a big game.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was, I can't remember what year it was.
2008.
In Lubbock.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Oh, see, you know the year and everything. I can't remember that.
And then, of course, coaches, I always liked Spike Dykes. He's a good old West Texas guy.
Yeah.
And Mike Leach has been, he's kind of a legend out there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different duck, but I like Mike Leach, too. What about, what do you think about Coach Bro?
Coach Bro, well, funny story. His family is really good friends with my family. My dad coached with Coach Kingsbury's dad, Tim Kingsbury, in New Braunfels.
Wow.
So they're really good friends. They go to church together and all that kind of stuff. And so we were really rooting for Cliff. we were so excited when he got the head job, really hoping that he did well because we know his family, and it's just unfortunate how it all kind of ended. I think maybe if he just had one more year, it could have been. But football, it's kind of turned into a
couple
big
more
business.
months, he might have been in Frisco.
Right.
Never know where he would have ended up.
I know, but yeah, I was always a big fan of Cliff, and I wish
Me
him
too.
the best moving forward. I'll definitely be keeping up with him.
Interested to see what happens in Arizona.
I know.
Who he gets.
Right.
Well,
they're going to get the number 1 draft pick.
Right.
I think, right.
Right. So see who that is and who he takes.
Should be interesting.
I know, right? On the basketball side, are you a Bob Knight fan?
I am a Bob Knight fan in that I like the way he got the teams ready and the style of play that they had and things.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of controversy with
Sure.
Bob Knight and some of the other stuff. I'm not a big fan of that part of it, but
Right.
But the years that he was at Tech,
He makes an
I
impact.
appreciate the discipline and just the way they played defense and just hard nosed, and he was rough, but he got the most out of those kids. A lot of times he got the most out of kids that weren't like top tier players too. he could take a kid that was just kind of run of the mill, middle of the road, and then turn him into a great player, just a great team player.
Did he change that program?
I don't. That program's kind of up and down. Like James Dickey, when he was there, he had some great seasons.
Okay, I was just thinking, were they good?
They were.
Before?
My last few years at school, they were really good. There was one year I think they were like 30-1 or something, but there was some sort of violation or something that they had, and they had to forfeit some games.
And they've been good again.
No, they're looking great right now. I think they're ranked number 15 in the country. Coach Beard's got them going. I think they're on the up and up.
So NFL versus college football. I think you said it, the quick hits, that college football is your favorite sport, yeah?
It is.
Do you watch NFL football as well?
It's on. I watch it. But it's not one of those things where I have to have it on. Like on Saturdays, like it's college football. I can watch teams that I don't even care about. I can watch college football. Pros, not as much. Now the Cowboy game is always on. Like when they're on, I know what time they come on. I put it on. It's on in the background. I'm watching it, but it's not as like locked in. Like for a Tech game, I don't miss a play.
Right.
Like you don't bother me. I'm watching the game. Cowboys, something comes up. Hey, I need you to run the store. Yeah, whatever. I got you. So it's not like I have to be glued in.
So when you watch your Tech games, I'm curious how other people watch their sports too. Because if it's a game we really need to see, we actually don't like to go anywhere. We need to be at home. Mm-hmm. We want to be able to hear everything, see everything, and not have a bunch of people around us or a bunch of house full of kids or something to where we have to stop and start the game, whatever. Mm-hmm. How do you have to watch football?
My wife can tell you. I'm like super superstitious about stuff like that. Like I do not like going to like a bar to watch the game. Mm-mm. Or I also don't like people inviting me over, like, hey, come over and watch the Tech game. I'm like, no, I don't like to watch it around other people. I have a very small circle of friends that I allow to like be with me. And then if we win a big game and they're there, then it's kind of like, okay, next time, hey, we've got to get back together.
Come back, wear the same shirt.
I'm definitely very, very, and I have some friends that'll like tape a game. And they're like, oh, don't tell me the score. I'm going to watch it later. Or like I'm going to start it like an hour later. And I can't do that either. I have to know exactly what's happening at that exact moment. Like if I'm ever caught somewhere else, if there's some circumstances where I can't see everything.
Sure. Yeah.
But like I have Twitter just.
You're big on Twitter.
I'm up to date on what's going on.
You tweet a lot. You sports tweet a lot, don't you?
I like the sports tweet.
Yeah. So we call that the practicing the theory of avoidance. So if we cannot be watching a game live and we have it recorded at home, when we get home, we try to avoid everything. Have the radio down in the car.
I can't do that.
Yeah, you're on Twitter too much to have anything delayed, huh?
Right. Well, there's times I think I've had to go to like some events or like special birthdays where I'm sitting there and the Tech game is on, and then there's all these strangers and they're all like critical and they're like, what's going on? They're terrible. And I'm just like, I don't want to hear it. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know this team. You don't know our players. You're just that's the situations I don't like to be in. And my wife just like looks at me and she just kind of laughs.
She's as big of a Red Raider as you are, though.
She's a big Red Raider.
Yeah.
But she's not like, she can.
It's not as high on her priority list as yours.
Exactly. But she knows my priority list, and so she's pretty good about making sure that that's all taken care of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's important to you. It's important to her.
Right.
What about high school? You're a high school teacher here in Frisco. Mm-hmm. How into high school sports are you?
I love high school sports. I try to go to as many high school games as I can. I teach at Liberty High School, so I like to go watch the Redhawks play, but then also my son, he's a 10th grader at Reedy, and so he played JV ball this year, and so we were at all his games, and we went to a few of the Reedy varsity games too, and had a really good team this year too. So, I love high school football, love it. The level of play is really high here in Frisco. I just think it's a little bit different than what me growing up, moving around all over the state, and where I played high school football. It's just a whole different deal. It's the suburbs.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm not used to that.
Right.
I am now, but I wasn't used to that playing.
Yeah, yourself. So your son is going into a pretty great team coming off of a huge season, right?
Yeah, they had a really good year last year.
For such a new
school. I believe it was the regional finals. They got beat by Aledo. But yeah, they lost a lot of players. To graduation, had a lot of seniors. but they've got a good group coming up. His JV team was pretty good, and so.
So tell me about that as you're a parent of an athlete. How many athletes do you have? How many kiddos do you have?
I have two.
Two kids.
I have a daughter that's 12.
Is she into sports?
She plays rec soccer. Mm-hmm.
How are you as a sports parent?
I'm pretty good. I feel like I'm pretty good at biting my tongue. There's times that I sit through some of our basketball games. My son played JV basketball too. There's some times that I'm just listening to the other parents or the fans. I'm like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be that person because I've been on both sides. I'm a pretty good sports parent. Now I feel like I really try and not kind of like what my dad did, not take it home. And not be that parent that's just harping on them, like, you got to do this, you need to do this, why aren't you doing this? Some of the parents are doing that from the stands, trying to coach their kid from the stands. These guys are high school coaches coaching our kids. They know what they're doing. They don't need you, kind of interjecting and really confusing the kid. He's looking up in the stands trying to get instructions from you, and then his coach is telling him something else. These guys aren't, I don't know. Everyone thinks they know best.
Everybody.
That kind of drives me crazy. And I'm really good about not saying anything. Because I know as a coach, when I was a coach, the parents, we'd get a lot of that after games. They want to come talk or want to know about playing time and things like that. And so you just have to, you hear them out, and it's all, you got to kind of figure out where they're coming from and what. And everybody in the end wants the best for their kid. They want their kid to succeed. They want their kid to play. They want their kid to be a superstar, and that's all well and good. But it's not always going to be that way for everybody.
I'm just happy to sit in the stands and watch, and glad that someone else is taking my child and taking the time to help them learn something and push them and build their character.
For sure.
I just stay out of it.
And Frisco does a great job of hiring coaches. The coaches here in the schools are. They're great. And if they're not, they're out really quick too. That's not an issue. So they're going to get coached up pretty well around here.
Are you done coaching?
I think I'm done coaching. I've thought quite a few times about trying to get back in the game, but there's parts of it I miss, and there's parts that I don't miss. I love the games. I love the game planning, that kind of stuff. But practices at 105 degrees outside and driving the bus around and all that kind of got a little old. But the kids, man, I loved the kids and coming up with a game plan and seeing it executed and seeing kids grow and really get better throughout the year and improve skills, whether it's football or basketball or even track. That was really rewarding for me.